I finished working with a client from the United Nations, and to finish the process, I asked her, how was the process for you? And she said, I went from being stressed out to being fired up. I went from being burned out to being engaged and recommitted to my job. So I said, how did that happen? How that process went for you? And she said, through coaching, I started exploring what were my beliefs. I started exploring how I communicated with people, and I created new awareness. And this new awareness helped me to understand how I came across and how unintentionally I have some challenges with my colleagues. So as a result of coaching, I was able to communicate differently, listening differently, being more curious, asking more questions, and as a result of that, I started building a different relationship with people working with me. And because I have a different relationship, people got more engaged, more committed. As a team, we start getting better results, and I feel much more satisfied, and there is much more well-being in my team. So this is a good example about how coaching works. Coaching is a process, and in this process, we explore with our coaches what are their goals, what they want to accomplish, what is in their way, and many times what they may not know that they don't know that is in their way to get the results. Now, today here we have leaders, managers, consultants, coaches, internal coaches, external coaches. Doesn't matter what is your role. I want to invite you to consider how you can make a difference in creating an organization with a coaching culture. Are you interested, willing to do this? Yes? Okay. So my goal is that you finish this session with a plan, with an idea about a couple of things that you can do to make a difference in your organization. Now, before I start sharing with you some ideas, I want to tell you something about me. Now, my accent, as you know, is from Argentina. So we have something in common. We were a colony from Spain. Now, Argentinians were very passionate people. And I was told that Filipinos are passionate too. Is that true? Yeah. Okay, I am so passionate that I got my mother, my father, my two brothers, and my sister-in-law, everybody to go through coaching training. And why I am so passionate about coaching is because I see the difference that coaching makes in people's lives. What you heard before from Marcia, from David, coaching has the power to transform one person. But when that person is transformed, everybody is transformed around them. So with the coachee, see a difference in how they relate to people around them, then their teams change, their organizations change, their communities change. Now, my experience in 2008, I went to a conference like this in Montreal, Canada. And when I went to that conference, I didn't know anybody. And when I sat and I was part of this movement that is coaching, I thought, I want to be part of this. I want to be engaged. I want to make a difference. So I went back to my local chapter, Los Angeles, where I live, and I raised my hand and I got involved in my local chapter. So I want to invite people here who are coaches who consider the possibility to get engaged with your local chapter and together build a great, great chapter. As I am very impressed. I travel all over the world. I have been for 6 years as a volunteer global board member, traveling more than 50 chapters all over the world, the last 2 years as ICF president. And I had to share with you, it's very impressive what you have here in Philippines. So I want to recognize the chapter for being one of the, this is not only about the biggest, it's not only that you have 800 people here, but you have an excellent program. Are you having fun? Are you getting some learning from today? We're having great speakers here. My God, this is a really, really great conference. So for being part of the conference, I got involved in my local chapter. Then I got involved in the global chapter in ICF, and then I got the opportunity to be the president for the last 2 years. Now, this passion helped me to get involved with people from all over the world. And what I see is that coaches, it doesn't matter where you go, are people who are really committed to making a difference. Now, you can make that difference as a professional coach, but you can also make that difference as a manager or as a leader. So it doesn't matter what is your role. I want to invite you to consider what are the small things that you can do to make a big difference. ICF, the International Coach Federation, this year turns 20 years old. So we're celebrating our 20 years. We have 27,000 members in 120 countries. And our job is to develop the art, the practice, and the science of coaching. And we do that in different ways. One of the ways that we do that is with credentials. So some of you may be credential coaches. And for people who are hiring coaches, it's very important that you pay attention when you hire a coach, that the coach has coaching training. Very important. When you're hiring coaches, you should ask the coach, what is your training? Ideally, we want also to have an ICF credential. Somebody who has an ICF credential means that is committed to the profession. It has to receive coaching training, have coaching hours of experience, and the most important is that you know it's somebody who follows professional and ethical standards. So this is, as ICF as an organization, one of our concerns. How to be sure that coaches working in the world follow professional and ethical standards. So we have credentials, we have educational programs, and we have research. Today, I am going to share with you some of our research about how to create and how to build coaching cultures. Every year, ICF develops different pieces of research with different goals, and last year, we have a research specifically focused on coaching cultures. How to build a coaching culture. Now, how we define a coaching culture? What is the first thing that comes up to your mind when you hear coaching culture? Feedback? What else? Anybody? Support? What else? Okay. A way of life, a way of being. So basically, what we find out is that coaching cultures are cultures that value coaching as a way to develop people. So coaching cultures mean that organizations spend time and spend money in building skills and capacities for people to develop as coaches. So if you are here today, that means that you or your organization is investing in you not only to pay for the conference, but also your time. Your time is very valuable. So that means that there is a possibility that your organization has a culture that values coaching, developing, and learning. How many of you are in an organization that you think values coaching, developing, and learning? Some of you, great. If you didn't raise your hand, my invitation is for you to make a difference. What can you do for that to happen? Now, your area of influence can be limited. So my experience doing coaching training is I go to an organization, I train managers, and managers say, but my boss, if my boss were different, things would be different. But then I go to train their managers, and the manager said, but if my boss would be different, things would be different. So my question is, what is your area of influence? You may not change your boss, you may not change other people, but you can influence people around you. So what is in your power? What is the area of influence where you can make a difference? And coaching is about developing people. It's about developing opportunities for people to learn, grow, and be more effective. So I want to share with you the research study that was done last year and was again done this year to confirm some of the research found with the Human Capital Institute. And in this research, basically participated all of these companies that you can see, different industries, different businesses. And the idea was to see what were the characteristics of coaching cultures and what can we do to build them. So basically, in this study, we asked these questions to first determine and differentiate organizations that have a strong coaching culture with organizations who don't. So what were the characteristics of a strong coaching culture? We look at 6 different elements. One of the elements of a strong coaching culture is that high-level executives value coaching. The second was that managers and employees value coaching and learning and development. The third element we ask people, like I ask you, do you think that you have a culture that value coaching? Then we ask the organization, how much money you invest in coaching? Do you invest any money? So people here who have some opportunities to make decisions, you may decide that you want to have more money invested in coaching. And we also wanted to know how much time managers spend coaching people. And finally, if the managers receive coaching training. So taking into account all of these variables, and by the way, this research, you can find it if you go to our website, coachfederation.org, coaching study, you can find all of this information with all of the details. So basically, the most important findings, without going to too many details, is that the organizations who have a stronger coaching culture compared to the one who didn't have 2 key big differences. Number 1, organizations with strong coaching culture had higher level of engagement. People were more engaged, more committed, more inspired. And the second one is they also have higher level of revenue. So it was not only satisfaction and engagement, also bottom line, also productivity. So with these results, we renew this research, as we said, this year, and we found similar results. You can go to coachfederation.org, coaching culture, and there you will find the details of the 2 studies from this year and last year. I want to make this point to reinforce the idea that coaching is not something nice to have, but coaching can make a big difference in your organization in terms of engagement and productivity. So here are some questions that I would like you to consider, and we will do like a brief exercise at your table. But these were some of the questions we were asking ourselves in the research study. So we wanted to know, what are the motivators behind offering coaching? Why people wanted coaching? We wanted to know what were the reasons and who received coaching in the organization. What were the methods? How often people receive coaching? What were the barriers for designing a coaching culture? And what were the differences between 3 modalities that were the 3 key elements of building a coaching culture? Internal coaching, external coaching, and training managers as coaches. So these 3 modalities, I'm going to spend some time in building some ideas about what you can do about that. One is about external coaches, people who are hired from outside the organization to coach people inside the organization. Inside coaches who were people who were developed and who work inside the organization as coaches. And finally, managers who develop coaching skills to coach their people. So I want you to spend 5 minutes with the person next to you and have a brief conversation and choose one of these 2 questions from here. And I want you to have a brief conversation. What happened in your organization? If you are an internal coach, or if you're an external coach, or if you're a manager, how will you answer some of these questions? So I'm going to repeat these questions. So I want you to think, and then I will share the results of the study. What are the motivators? Why people receive coaching? Who received coaching? What were the methods? How often people receive coaching? What were the barriers to designing a coaching culture? And what were the modalities that were present in your organization? There is external coaching, internal coaching, or managers, leaders using coaching skills. Let's spend 5 minutes with the person next to you, and I want you to choose a couple of questions for this and see what happened in your organization. Okay? Let's spend 5 minutes doing this exercise. You have the questions in your manuals. You have the questions in page number 22. So if you want to read the questions, they are in your manuals in page number 22. Okay, let's stop here. Let's stop here, and I want to share with you some of the results from the study. So I want to ask everybody's attention. So I want to bring everybody's attention so I can share with you some of the results. And I think it's important to think about these questions because these are the questions that people are asking themselves when they are building organizational cultures. If you want to have a coaching program in your organization, you need to be able to answer these questions. When are you going to be hiring coaches? How often do you want coaches to participate in the program? What is the right methodology? So these are some of the questions that you want to ask yourself if you're going to be building a coaching culture. So I'm going to share with you some of the results that we find in our study. So we talk about three different elements: internal coaches, external coaches, and training manager as a coach. So organizations who have strong coaching cultures have the three elements. Organizations who have strong coaching cultures hire some coaches externally, particularly working with high-level executives, and also with high potentials. In the past, coach was used mainly when there was some problems and you wanted to solve an issue, so you would hire a coach to work with a challenging situation. Nowadays, we're leaving that model of using coaching to fix a problem to seeing coaching as a leadership strategy. So if you want to look at your future, as David talked before when he was talking about VUCA, if you want to develop leaders to be ready and effective to find and meet future challenges, they need to be able to develop their people and they need to be effective coaches. So to do that, you want to be sure that leaders also receive coaching training. So when we coach, and we particularly train coaches and managers, what do we need to pay attention? The International Coach Federation has a coaching model with 11 core competencies. And I would like everybody to be very familiar with which are these 11 core competencies. Because any coach training that is approved by the ICF has, as part of the program, to learn what are the competencies, and they practice the competencies and receive feedback based on these competencies. And the idea is when you're training managers, many times the competencies that managers are learning are similar or the same. For example, when a manager is being trained to be a coach and to build coaching skills, we want to be sure that it's effective as what we heard before, for example, from David in building trust. So I have a question for you. How effective are you at building trust? Many times we give trust for granted. But if you are not effective at building trust, people will do what you tell them because you have the authority, not because they want to. So what do you do to build trust with people working for you? How consistent you are between what you say and what you do? So building trust is one of the key elements to be effective when you're coaching. The other key competency is presence. We want to be effective in being present. And unfortunately today, there are so many stresses and so many pressures and so many things going on that it's very difficult to be present to people around us. So like you can see people around us, instead of talking to us, checking their emails, looking at their telephones, and the quality of the time and the quality of the relationship suffer because we are not present to people around us. So this is not only about being present to an employee, but how present we are to anybody around us. How effective we are at connecting with somebody and listening to them and showing understanding. Many of the challenges around coaching are about time. Managers say, I don't have time to coach people. But the idea is not the amount of the time, but it's the quality of the time. You can spend not a lot of time, but the quality time where you really are present, connected, listening, asking questions so people come up with their own solutions. So this is another big difference in coaching method and in leadership. When a leader is coaching, instead of telling people what to do, either asking questions. So powerful questioning is another key competency as a coach. So the question that I have for you, if you are particularly a leader or a manager, how effective are you at asking questions? Are you effective at telling people what to do, or are you effective about asking questions so people have to think and come up with their own solutions? And maybe this is one of the key elements of making a difference in your relationship with people working with you. If you want to coach them, it's key that you listen to them and you ask them questions so they come up with their own solutions. So if you look at yourself and you are really honest about yourself and who you are as a coach, internal, external, as a leader, as a consultant, how effective are you at being present, being connected, building trust, and asking powerful questions? So these are small things that make a big difference. Small things that make a big difference. So I want to invite you to consider, how do you do this in your job, but not only in your job, with the people that you love, the people around you. How effective you are in listening and asking these questions to everybody in your life. We are so busy that we don't spend enough time in doing that. And I want you to think, as a manager, when you are coaching your people, you want to exactly pay attention to this. How effective are you at being present, being connected, listening, asking powerful questioning, so people can come up with their own solutions? When people can come up with their own solutions, they are much more engaged than if you tell people what to do. So in terms of why people were using coaching, what were the motivators? Why people wanted to receive coaching? In general, what we found out in our study is that where they were using external coaches, people want to use coaching as a leadership development strategy. So that means that we were hiring coaches because we think that the only way to develop our leaders is they get their skills as they are effective in developing the leadership skills. Now, in my experience, I have worked for many years training managers with coaching skills. Nowadays, I don't know how many of you are familiar with these programs where it's a mix of training and coaching. So many of the programs that are trained in leadership engage leadership education, leadership information, and then working with a coach to implement the learnings. Because many companies and organizations invest a lot of money in training, but there is not accountability. They go to a training, they may learn new skills, but then nothing happens. So working with a coach makes a big difference in assuring that whatever people learn in the leadership training, then they can implement and they can practice and they can see a difference in the investment. The other issue why people are hiring coaches is to enhance engagement, as we found out in the results of the study, to improve communication skills, to improve team building, and to increase productivity. These were the key motivators to hire coaches. How often people meet with their coaches, with external coaches in particular? You can see here, and this is the difference between external coaches and internal coaches in blue and in yellow. Like the most people engage coaching coaches in a monthly basis. Once a month is the ones that you see, like external coaches, 57% were working once a month or monthly basis. What are the differences, advantages and disadvantages between internal coaching and external coaches? Like the idea is that when you hire external coaches to your company, you are going to hire people who are better trained probably than internal coaches. So most of the time, external coaches work as coaches. This is what they do most of their job, most of their time. Different than with internal coaches who may have a lot of different activities, and maybe coaching is just a little part of their job. Now, the advantage of an internal coach is that they are much more familiar with the culture of the organization. So knowing the organization can have advantages and disadvantages. And how many internal coaches are here? Who are internal coaches working internally? Do we have some internal coaches? Okay, great. So for the internal coaches, the advantage for your companies in having an internal coach also is that compared to an external coach is less expensive. So that is one of the reasons why companies should be thinking about having more internal coaches. And the advantage with external coaches is particularly at higher levels of the organization. The idea is that you want to have somebody who is not involved and who may not be affected by the decisions of the high-level executives. So it's very difficult for a high-level executive to have a coach, an internal coach, who is going to be affected by some of their decisions. So that's the reason why most of the time, for higher-level executives in the organizations, are using more external coaches, and most of the time, internal coaches work with mid-managers and people under them. Some of the conclusions that I want to share with you from the study are that the organization with a strong coaching culture, as I said before, have a higher level of engagement from the employees. But also, they have a stronger financial performance. And also, organizations that are realizing the importance of coaching are using internal coaches, external coaches, and training managers as coaches too, as three key elements, as I said before. So I want to ask you, based on your experience, what is what you can do to create an organizational culture inside where you work? So based on what you have heard so far, I want you to, again, turn to the person next to you and think from everything that you heard, how you can make a difference. What is the kind of thing that you can do to create more awareness, to create a difference, and to create a more organization culture in your organization? So let's spend a couple of minutes with the person next to you that you talked before, and I want you to think how you can make a difference in your own organization. Let's do that for 2 minutes each. How you can make a difference in your organization to inspire people to create an organizational culture. Okay. No.
We're gonna flash the 20 minutes.
Yes. How do you tell yourself?
We can ask it now. You know, I stood up and hi, honey, I see I'm here for you.
I
So there has to be a standard. There has
we need to move on to the last part. And before I go, I want to share with you a couple of things. Why I am so passionate about coaching. I am very passionate about coaching because I see how coaching makes a difference in people's lives. I have been a coach for 20 years, working particularly as an executive coach in more than 40 countries. And when you see people's transformations, when you see people being more effective, when you see people maximizing their potential, we realize that sometimes we can not only transform somebody's life, but as coaches, we transform our lives too. That's the reason why I think that being a coach is such a privilege. Who are the coaches here? Who are professional coaches here? I want to ask you to stand up. All of the professional coaches. I want to stand up. Don't be shy, please. All of the professional coaches who are here. You know, we have a 10%. So all of the professional coaches who are here, who are standing up, I want you to stay standing up. Why? This is what I want to tell you. When we choose whatever we do, don't sit yet. Just stay stand up for one more minute. When we choose what we do, we have options and we have choices. And knowing that we invest our time, our energy in coaching others, in making a difference, and knowing that every time that we make somebody's difference in their life, it's also making a difference in our life. Isn't that true? That's the reason why it's a privilege, and that's the reason why I want to thank you for being committed to making a difference. But you never know. And this is just for you, and I'm telling you here as ICF Global Board member, I am still in the board. This is my 6th year, 2 more months to go, almost 1 more month to go. The difference that you make in the world, you may not be aware. You don't know how the difference with the client, how they go back to their homes and they have different experiences with their family members, with the people that they are working with in their organization. So I want everybody to recognize them for the work that they do, to make a difference. And maybe here we inspire other people to become coaches too. Thank you. Thank you very much. And maybe we inspire other people to be coaches too. Why? Because when you coach, it requires to bring the best out of you. To bring the best out of you. So I am very lucky because I don't need to explain my family member what is coaching. But for many people, they have that challenge to explain what is coaching. How do you explain coaching? What is it? So I want to invite everybody after this session today and after this program that you leave here knowing what is coaching. That coaching is about developing yourself, It's about transformation. It's about looking for new possibilities. And pay attention to this word. Everybody. Possibility. Possibility. We live our lives, the way that we live our lives is based on what we think is possible. Okay? So the work of a coach is to challenge people to see how their possibilities and the way that they look at possibilities are limiting their lives. So we live our lives and everything we do is based on what we think is possible. And we think that some things are possible and some things are not. So our job as coaches is to challenge people to look at different possibilities. And there is another word that I really like, and it's the word choice. Choice. Many times we don't see choices in our lives. And coaching is about exploring new choices. So I have a coach that I work consistently, but sometimes I have a personal challenge and I need some coaching. For a specific challenge, I call my brother and I ask my brother, please ask me questions to see what I am not seeing. And that requires that we have the humility to know that there is a possibility that we are not seeing something. Are you with me here? Not so easy. Not so easy to be humble enough to know that there is a possibility that we are not seeing something. And for not seeing this, we are limiting the way that we are making choices and the way that we are living our lives. So I want to invite you, if you're a coach or if you're a leader or if you're a consultant, how effective are you at asking questions for people so they can look at new possibilities, new choices, and new ways of managing and dealing with different situations? So I hope that you can think of small things that can make a big difference in your organizations with this research. The research presentation, there is a lot of data and there are a lot of details. You can go and find information in the website. As I said before, I shared with you, there is a list of your resources. Building an Organizational Coaching Studies, coachfederation.org/coaching culture. There you can find all of the details. In our website, there are a lot of resources. Many people don't know how many resources the International Coach Federation has in our website in the research portal. For coaches, how many of you are familiar with Coaching World? We have a coaching magazine. It's a virtual magazine that is free. Anybody can access. You don't need to be a member of ICF to get access to our Coaching World magazine. We have communities of practice. People that are internal coaches, external coaches, researchers. There are like 25 communities of practice with practitioners who work all over the world that meet on a monthly basis to discuss the work that they are doing. So I want to invite you to go to our website to get familiarized with ICF. There is also my email, damien@coachfederation.org, where you can reach me if you have any questions about ICF or about coaching. And I want to finish with a brief story about a class that I am teaching now at a university. So I'm teaching this class at the University of Southern California, USC. And in this class, we have participants from all over the university, many different units. And I was very impressed with particularly a subgroup in the class from the hospitality unit. So I went and I asked them, I see that you're very customer service. I see that you're very supportive of your colleagues in this class. Tell me about your unit. And one of them said, hospitality at USC is the best unit of all of the units. And I said, why? What makes that the best unit? And I said, we're a really great team. We are a great team. We love working with each other. We really are very committed. And I said, how that happened? What is different from your team compared with other teams in the university that make you the best team? And he said, we have a leader, we have a vice president who is our team leader, who is really committed in working with us. And one way to show was that he paid for them to be in this training. So we see that by facts, not what people say, but what they do. So if you are here, probably somebody supported you in being here. So they say that the key element for them to be so engaged and so involved and so committed about their job was having this leader who was invested in them, in developing them, in being sure that they could grow, they can be the best in their job that they could be, and that really engaged them and support them. So I want to ask every one of you to finish here. How effective are you at doing that? How effective are you at looking for opportunities to tell people how important they are, for looking for opportunities to listen to every person working for you or in your life, showing interest, showing curiosity. Curiosity, we know, is one of the most important traits of an effective coach. Being curious, being interested in what are their challenges, what's happening to them, and asking some questions so they can come up with their own solutions. So I hope that you can come up with something concrete, something specific that you can take action as soon as you go back to work, because in coaching we know it's not about talking, but it's about doing. So I want to invite you to take some action, to hear from David, from Marcia, from your different sessions that you attended. We still have a great session coming up now. And be sure that you do something with this. This is the most important in coaching. It's not just talking about it, but taking action. Small things make a big difference. Thank you very much.